Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex. My name is Michael Mansour. I'm joined as always by my in the process of moving co-host Alexander Volz. Say hello.
It's all right to lose your heart, but never lose your head.
I'm going to cry already. That's beautiful. This is Every Album Ever, the podcast.
Life advice.
This is Every Album Ever, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. That's a new discography, more or less per episode. And today we are going to have a lengthy conversation about
Thin Lizzy. I'm super hyped. I'm repping Ireland with my Becky Lynch shirt too. So
that's because everybody from Ireland knows each other, right, Alex?
Yeah, they all know each other. Phil, Lynott, Becky Lynch. It's all
indeed. So before we get into any of that, if you'd like us to support us and spread the word, tell a friend if you would like. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all the things. And if you want to participate, book club style, send emails, talk about the artists along with us, you can follow me on Instagram at Pope Jesse Ventura, where I'll be posting ahead of time which artists we're currently covering. And then you can send your thoughts to everyalbumever@gmail.com, as well as your suggestions for artists for us to talk about. We have a little bit of criteria for who we cover, but if they're broken up, dead, or practically dead, pretty much that's got to go. You can also follow Alex. He does pretty much the same stuff at
Mother Puncher.
And if you'd like to check out more of Thin Lizzy after the episode or during the episode, or just skip the episode and listen to the music, there's a Spotify playlist that we put together full of our favorite songs. There should be a link in the description of wherever you're listening or watching, as well as everyalbumever.com. We have playlists associated with every single episode. And by the way, episode 50. Oh my God. In 2 weeks.
Read my mind. This is pretty much our 1 year anniversary episode.
Basically.
Not officially until 2 more episodes. So this Thin Lizzy playlist is going to be gigantic. On my end alone, I have 23 songs on there. I don't care. We're going big.
We're going hot.
It's a big episode.
Yeah.
It's a band we're both passionate about.
Yeah. Dude, 50 episodes. Like, it's not a big deal. A year is not a huge deal. But like when you're not, well, let's just say me and Alex are nobodies and we're doing this extremely daunting podcast of a discography a week for a full year. That's kind of big. I like it. I think it's impressive. I'm impressed with us. And like, thank you to everybody who supported, or who continues to support. Cause like, man, we have grown exponentially. There's like, I think we have a strong core fan base, and I appreciate the hell out of all of you. And, I don't see us stopping anytime soon. I just briefly mentioned Alex is going through a move. Is it stopping him? No, it's not stopping him. I'm currently broke as shit, getting nothing from unemployment. Am I stopping? God damn it, I'm not stopping. I'm hungry, Alex. This is not cool. This is getting scary. But
yeah. I think that's why we do it. We're hungry. We're not getting paid.
Yeah.
We're noticing the small gains with the fans that we don't personally know.
Yeah.
Slowly getting there. So I'm equally as grateful to those people. And it can be hard. It can be like homework, but whenever we hit the record button, I always have fun talking to you.
Hell yeah.
I always have fun listening to the feedback.
It's a good time. It's very fulfilling.
It's a big task, but it is a rewarding one.
Hell yes, couldn't agree more. And I was waiting for when we would do Thin Lizzy. I didn't know, because 50 is like a cool round number. It's halfway to 100. I don't know what the hell 100 is going to be, but like, I couldn't think of a better band to do than Thin Lizzy. I personally did not realize they had 12 goddamn albums, though. That's a lot of albums. I thought it was like 7 or something.
I knew it was up there, and usually I get people into Thin Lizzy. Like, that's my job. Mm-hmm. I tell people, no, you need to listen to Thin Lizzy. I think they're one of the most underrated classic rock bands ever. They all fucking shred. Yeah. They're not held in the same light as their peers. They totally help pioneer like not just the new wave British heavy metal with bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest, but like the whole like leather and studs look. They were one of the first bands to do that. Everybody shreds. Like they don't get nearly enough credit. And
no.
And yeah, Casey chimed in when I asked people, "Hey, do people have any thoughts on Thin Lizzy?" And he also agreed that Iron Maiden solos would not be the same. He also pointed out a video to me where it's an hour long every Thin Lizzy guitar solo mashed together.
Really? That's kind of awesome.
It's great. Yeah. So if people like Thin Lizzy, definitely look up the every Thin Lizzy guitar solo on YouTube. It's a fun listen.
And their solos are one of the best things about them. Like everybody listening to this and everybody not listening to this has definitely heard Jailbreak and The Boys Are Back in Town. And yeah. And those, like like if you don't like that, I want you to die now because you are not a person. You're not a human being. There is nothing human about you, or you're a robot or something like that. But I'm obviously exaggerating, or maybe I'm not. You know what? Go ahead, die. No, it's fucking wonderful. And that's just one of Thin Lizzy's sounds. They started out as a completely different band, and then they ended as a completely different band. And I would say the progression is pretty. It's over the course of 12 albums, so it's not like drastic. It's very. They're like small. They're baby steps to how they progress through each album. So
yeah, there's never like a jarring disparity in sounds unless you like listen to the first one and then listen to the last one. Exactly. Where he skipped everything in the middle. And because of that, like I found it very difficult to decide on the best, because it's like not one is immediately jumping out as way better than the other ones. Like, no, they're all pretty good. And the same with the worst. Like, well, I definitely do have a worst. I had to go back and remove it from the context of the chronology to kind of understand what I thought was worse. Because like one could be bad just in the context of in between these amazing albums, but not bad by itself. So it's like it's really hard doing a big discography like this, because you kind of lose it. You lose what objectivity is in the context of a solid band from beginning to end. Yeah, I might drop some hot takes with my picks, but me too. It was hard to divvy these up. I agree, because as much as I like Thin Lizzy, to me their albums, there's always some stinkers. Always. Like, I don't think they have any like start to finish flawless albums. They do not. So I agree. Yeah, that made it also really hard for me to be like, oh man, how do I divide this up? And at the end, I went with my heart. Got to go with your heart. And I will say that I came out of this rather, not the same. I went into this with like, all right, I'm pretty sure this is what I like the most. I'm pretty sure this is the best. I'm pretty sure I know how I feel about this. Came out way different, completely surprised myself. And that's why I love doing this fucking podcast. So let's start. Like we said before, Thin Lizzy has 12 albums. 12 albums. Technically, we're going to be talking about 12 albums in one EP. First album came out in 1971. Last one was 1983. 12 years, 12 albums. That's pretty, like, that's kind of a lot. Like, it's a lot, but I guess it makes sense. Like our very first episode, ELO, I was kind of taken aback where they have a very similar thing where it's like every year they were putting out an album, but that's just kind of how the industry was back then. For sure. It was like, if you're not putting out an album every year, they're going to forget about you. They're, all this BS. Yeah. And the music business changes and with the times. So that's just, it was what it was. Indeed. And one thing that's also surprising, it's like, Thin Lizzy is a band that seemed like they were around longer, at least in my opinion. I can't believe it was only like just over 10 years. Like, that's it, really? They seem like they've been around for decades, but no. I think even though they're underrated, I think that's like a testament to their songwriting that they feel like they were around forever. And I found I didn't even realize there was a behind the music on Thin Lizzy that I found and I watched. So I'm paraphrasing some of the stuff from there. But you get a lot of the like there's this Clash, and I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name. I've heard it. Phil Lynott.
It's Lynott.
Lynott.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like this clash of him being a romantic, but also like this hard, like rocker.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of that. Fight. Yeah.
And that's consistent beginning to end.
Sure is.
Beginning to end. He's also had a very unique upbringing, being a Black Irish guy. You know, there weren't that many back in the.
There aren't that many now.
Yeah, in the 60s, 70s. So he kind of has like a unique outlook on life, and he's very much drawn towards Irish history, Celtic mythology, gangs, cowboys, things like that. And those are repeating things that are in the music start to finish.
Indeed. So we're going to start it up with the first album, 1971's self-titled, Thin Lizzy. Could anybody hear that? That seems very quiet. I'm going to crank it.
Do it.
There we go.
The friendly ranger paused.
I wasn't ready
a bowl of beans.
No.
Like stars,
you know what? I've heard this album maybe once before, years ago. Completely forgot about it. Didn't recognize anything when I went back to it.
All the people's faces turned strawberry.
This was the first time I listened to this album.
By the morning gate, the friendly ranger waits for the sun, making sure it's not.
So
late.
one thing I noted
just in time,
within seconds of this song is that I know they're Irish, but this is already super British. This is like the most British sounding thing ever.
And in the evening shade, he climbs upon the sun.
This may be like their most
getting its glow.
Song.
Yeah.
It goes
which they don't really dabble.
They do not.
Singing this song.
Especially as they go on.
Yeah, it was 71. So.
So very different from the Boys Are Back in Town. This is Back in Town, rather. Yeah.
To walk down the street with my arms about your
However, Lynott's voice is already Lynott's voice.
His voice, I love. Yeah.
Love his voice.
With a sad eyed child till it smiles. So look at a starry sky at night. Realize the miles. To see the sunset.
All right. Since this is going to be a beefy episode, I'm going to cut it a little bit. And I will kick this off. Personal favorite.
Holy shit.
Yep.
I was not expecting that.
Love this album.
I did think this album was a pleasant surprise, but my issues are there's a lot of fade outs and the songs almost sound like not full sentences as like to do a metaphor where it's this like you're ready for it and then the song this kind of ends. Yeah, so I think there's some cool ideas on here for sure.
Like I don't know right.
They don't sound complete to me.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Eire, I think EIRE. It's so good. It's so good, and it's 2 minutes, and it ends before you even like. Wait, what? That's it? Like, why wouldn't that be longer? How is that only 2 minutes? And it's beautiful. And then you get other songs like Diddy Levine, which is a 7 minute epic. Like, there's like a lot of range with like what they're doing here. They're already very not easy to peg, more psychedelic than anything, but. It seemed like they were going proggy. Like from this point, like, oh, they're going to go proggy later on, which is weird because they didn't. They went the opposite of proggy.
Yeah. Eire, I felt like they're already like shredding to me on certain songs. But since you brought it up and with Eire, I just imagine they're sitting around like, we should do an acoustic song, but we still need a shred. So
right.
Let's do that.
Oh man. Shit, let me just fix this real quick. Here we go. Go ahead. Keep going.
One of, songs that I'm going to be coming back to and why I'm glad we did this. Look what the wind just blew in is like, even if you're a fan of like Jailbreak era Thin Lizzy, this song is like holds up and
That's
is
funny.
for
Yeah.
every Thin Lizzy fan, I think.
And that's funny because that's my least favorite song on the album, and I still like it because it has that Thin Lizziness to it. I just really like the unpredictability of everything else. Like, I'm gonna put on that song real quick because, like, if you don't feel Thin Lizzy from this song out the gate, then my friend, you are not a Thin Lizzy man. This is "Lick What the Wind Blew In."
This song will get stuck in my head.
Yep. Oh yeah, those chord changes right there, so Thin Lizzy.
Yeah. And it's not like super unique. It's just a really solid 70s song, I think.
Exactly. One thing I'll mention pretty early on is Eric Bell. Guitarist
Eric Bell,
Bell, underrated as shit guitarist from that time period. No one ever talks about this guy.
I think because Thin Lizzy kind of has a revolving door of guitar players, I think every guitar player they've had is amazing. I don't think they've ever had like a shitty member in the group.
No.
So at least technically the way they play.
Right. He's real good. He was on the first 3 albums, and I believe he named the band, or he suggested the name Thin Lizzy. Do you know the story behind that name? It's dumb as fuck.
It comes from like a children's comic book. There's like a robot character called Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
And I think the band might have even been, it's a playoff, like the way the Dublin accent.
Yeah.
So I think the band might even be pronounced Thin Lizzy.
Tin Lizzy. But like, what made me laugh was I read an actual quote from Eric Bell, and it's like, so the idea was that the band would be called Thin Lizzy, but pronounced Tin Lizzy, so you get some controversy over what it's talking about or like how it's pronounced. And I thought, like, if that's what your idea of controversy is, you fucking privileged bitch. Like, man, the 70s were a different time. My God.
Also, the origins of the band was Eric Bell asking Downey, the drummer, he saw them play and he only asked Downey to start a band, but he's like, no, we gotta like bring in Phil. Like, he's a great like lyricist and all this. And Bell was kind of hesitant about it.
So it was originally Bell's band, really?
Yeah, but he saw the light and he's like, God damn, this Phil guy's real good.
And for anyone that doesn't know, Phil Lynott, this Thin Lizzy, Phil Lynott is Thin Lizzy, like, which is kind of funny that I didn't even know it wasn't even his band, but it sure as hell became his band. He's a main songwriter, obviously singer, bassist. Beginning to end, he's the guy.
Yeah, no disrespect to any of the other members, but to me, like the 4 most important members are obviously Phil, the drummer Brian Downey. They're the only 2 start to finish members. Eric Bell, this because he started the thing, and then his replacement Scott Gorham, who fucking changed the game. Changed the game. Those are the 4 big members to me as we go through this.
What else do I really like this album, and I was surprised at how goddamn consistent it was, because we said earlier that Thin Lizzy typically has a couple stinkers on even their best albums. So just how consistent this album was to me, I was very pleasantly surprised by that. Like, the second track, Honesty Is No Excuse, gorgeous. Absolutely love that song. Insane.
That's one of the standout drumming tracks on this album. The guitar riffs are cool. Around like the 2:30 mark, Phil Lynott goes like full Randy Newman with the way he sounds. The way this dude pronounces words and his different inflections, it's so great.
Yeah, you would never ever in a million years guess that he was Irish. Like, you don't, that accent never shines through really ever.
I think it does. Like, is it on this song or this also, the deluxe version comes with their EP.
Right.
And the song Things Just Ain't Working Out, the way he pronounces work, if you want to pull it up, that's around 155.
155? I will do that.
I'm just like, why would you pronounce it that way? It's so weird, but also really endearing.
You said 154?
Yeah, let's do 154 so we don't skip it. Maybe my time stamps are off.
Huh?
Or maybe my time stamps are off.
Maybe. Maybe it was before. We'll just let it play.
Things ain't working out.
Working out.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still faint though.
No bag or baggage.
Here's the thing. It still sounds like an accent, but it doesn't register in my brain as Irish. That's what's funny about it.
Yeah, and yeah, that's a super fun music part with the drums are all over the place, and then at the end he does something where it's like you and me and you and me, like it's fucking hilarious.
I didn't think the EP was nearly as good as the album. Like
it's not.
Yeah, and somehow like the production took a real hit too. Like the production on the album is pretty solid. Like it's very clear, especially for that era, early 70s. And EP is like it's fine. And it's one of the and for the most part, and this is going to be a continuing trend. Guitar is usually secondary to the bass on the first few albums.
Mm-hmm.
Like that bass is cranked.
The worst audio quality is The Farmer, and I think The Farmer was recorded before the album.
Yeah, that's yeah.
So yeah, the quality goes down there. Everything else is solid though.
Right.
And then even like Remembering Part 1 is pretty nuts.
So Remembering Part 1 is the final track on the album, I believe, and Remembering Part 2 is on the EP. That song, they're both really good. But like it just seems so damn musical. Like as they go on, they kind of get more rocking, a little bit more straightforward. They simplify. This is like was it Clifton Grange Hotel? It has like it's just beautiful. They space in these I guess you can call them ballads. And one thing I will say, maybe a bit controversial, I don't think Thin Lizzy is that good at ballads, like generally.
Same
Okay,
here.
all right, there we go. We're on the same page.
If you didn't say it, I was going to say it. And I was going to say my last like 2 cents on the album because we got a lot to go on.
Yeah.
I think Dublin is their best ballad they've ever written.
Interesting. And honestly, the earlier ballads are pretty good, but as the album's going, as they become Thin Lizzy as we know them, they kind of get a little cheesy. But this album, I think, is fucking wonderful. I really love it. Caught me off guard.
Pleasant surprise.
Hell yes. And I really like this style of the band in general because, first of all, no one talks about it very much, and it's completely different. There's no harmonized guitar solos going on. It's just they're like a standard 3-piece, but solid, creative, and the writing is really good too. And I don't know, it's a strong start to a prolific career, I believe.
Pleasantly surprising, a little rough around the edges is my
right. And with that, let us move on to the second album. This is 1972's Shades of a Blue Orphanage.
Drum intro here.
Yep.
Crazy long title.
Oh yeah, what is it? This song is called "The Rise and Dear Demise of the Funky Nomadic Tribes." Hey, shorten it.
I'm about it.
This is quite the intro. There we go.
This is a sleeper Thin Lizzy track too. Like this is
really.
I like it a lot.
I'm not a fan of this song.
I mean, when I notice songs with like more of the tribal drumming, usually not for my.
I don't know. I like tribal drumming. It's not the drumming that I have a problem with. It is.
It's the 7 minutes.
I like long songs too. I can't be picked, motherfucker. I can't be picked. No, it's the length along with no real. It just keeps fuck like right here. It goes funky, and then it like it. Okay, I'll let it play a little bit before I start talking.
Also, a lot of funk stuff.
Yeah.
And early Thin Lizzy stuff, where later on they'll just kind of revisit it and then outright ignore it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that song is 7 minutes of funkiness and weird proggy stuff, and like reason why I don't care for it so much is, there's so many riffs, and I just. Some of them are okay, and then some of them are whack, and then some of them, like, I generally don't care for funky stuff in general. Well, that's kind of being redundant, that sentence, but it's a weird opening track. It's a weird thing to start the album with.
Yeah.
It just feels like an odd decision. I don't like it. However, the second track is Buffalo Gal, and I love that song.
I have mixed feelings about that song. I like the waltzy parts in it.
Yeah.
I like when they say buffalo.
Buffalo. Yeah.
Super fun, but then it's like the rest, I don't know. It doesn't kind of tails off. And Buffalo is another thing Phil likes to sing about.
Really?
We'll be saying the word buffalo a lot.
This album, I've actually heard this album quite a few times in the past, and it's because some of my favorite Thin Lizzy songs ever are on this album. Buffalo Gal, Brought Down is incredible. Brought Down is so damn moving.
I'm gonna have to go back to that.
I'm putting it on right now. Just I'm gonna drop it somewhere in the middle because I love this song so much. A lot of acoustic guitars on this album too. And oddly enough, my favorite songs on here are usually acoustic heavy.
In 1954, hey baby, maybe cause my baby had a baby by me.
I had this written down.
I was still drinking dry gin.
Chatting today, but I guess it applies to this song too. This man is the Irish Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So right here when the vocals come in, the backup.
And I'm brought down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I won't think I could get up again.
Oh, this song is fucking incredible, man. Oh man, I love that song so much. It's one of my all-time favorites. And having said that, the rest I hate for the most part. Like, I think the
first album does have more character, but these feel more fleshed out. It's this that they're less interesting. I kind of like Babyface, Call the Police.
Oh, I hate both of those so much.
Call the Police has some crazy drumming. I mean, I'm going to say that a lot because Brian Downing is a certified G, but and doesn't get enough credit. The title track, you get some of that's kind of like about how Phil Lynott was brought up. He's not an orphan, but he might as well be. He was bounced around a lot, lived with his mom, then his grandma, and raised by his grandma and uncles. So he kind of has like this orphan quality about him.
Didn't care for the title track either. But the thing is, none of that compares to how much I loathe I Don't Want to Forget How to Jive. It is terrible Elvis-y bullshit, and it's fucking track 3. And like, dude, oh my god, they never played with that. Was one of his what?
Was one of his heroes, so it kind of makes sense.
But that's funny because never again does he try Elvis-y stuff. It's like this one song, and I don't like it. And oh man, maybe he learned from that. Maybe he's like, I can like Elvis, but I'll stay in my unique
Bill Lynott Lane, which thankfully he did.
Right. And then also it's like not even 2 minutes. And it's like, it's just this weird kind of, it's like a total beast, total like outtake track. Like, and it's right at the beginning of the album and it's weird. And then you get Sarah, which is like one of the most over the top romantic, ballady, piano heavy. And it's like, it goes a little far with the romantic softness, but it's still kind of nice. And I think if you took out the vocals, this song would sound like it would be in a JRPG. Like that's exactly what it sounds like. It's so damn romantic, so piano heavy.
Yeah, like you said about the other song, to me, Sarah does this kind of sound like a demo, but it's 2 minutes, and they would go off. Also, Sarah version 1, because they would go on to do another song called Sarah. So,
yeah.
So people don't get confused. This is Sarah version 1.
Yeah, this is you. If you heard the two, you're not going to mix the two up. They are completely different songs,
and about very different things.
That's funny to me. We'll talk about that more. But this one's about his daughter, right?
No,
this is about his grandma. This is about his grandma, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's an okay album. It has some of my favorite Thin Lizzy songs of all time, but the rest, I really I think they're abysmal. Like that's weird. It's this weird, completely two-sided thing. And I thought this was uncommon, at least in our experience doing this podcast, where it's kind of rare you hear an album where half of it is incredible and the other half is horrible. But Thin Lizzy does it a couple times. And it's real weird. And this is the first time they do it. So I would say the Buffalo Gal, Brought Down, and Chatting Today are all bangers, man. Alex, if you like some crazy, funky psychedelic shit, the opening track is also another one.
And Mike didn't like it, but I'm going to say also check out Call the Police. Before we move on to the next album, I found an interesting tidbit. I didn't get around to listening to it, but they're not as successful at this point. For some reason, they were contracted to do an album of Deep Purple cover songs, which is totally bizarre to me because at the time Deep Purple was very modern.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, this great band that we need to do a tribute to. It's just like,
yeah, I've never heard of that happening.
And I'm like, that's so weird. And I'm like, there's no way this album is streaming. It is fucking streaming. It's under the name The Funky Junction, and you kind of have to like go through it because there's other things called Funky Junction, but you can find it and it's streaming for those who are interested.
Holy shit.
I'm gonna try to get around and listening to it eventually because I like Thin Lizzy, I like Deep Purple. I want to see what it sounds like.
That is wacky as all hell, but fun as hell. All right, let's move on.
And yes, something they did purely for money because they also felt like it was redundant. Like, what's the point? But also, money's nice. So.
Money is nice. Food is also nice. We're going to move on to the third album. This is the last album with Eric Bell. This is 1973's Vagabonds of the Western World. Oh, I love this.
They're pretty consistent with opening tracks.
For the most part, yeah.
This is more like a swampy.
Oh, yeah. Those slides are real good.
My mama nature said, it's more than what you done. I said you for my bride.
I still remember distinctly when I first heard this song. Very distinctly.
Well, this is one of their most popular albums.
Cover up your lies with sympathies, and I've got no solution to your persecution.
All right. So here's a fun fact. This was the first Thin Lizzy song first Thin Lizzy album I ever heard.
Interesting.
Yeah. And boy, do I not feel the same about it now. I was let down pretty hard by this one.
So this is a song with Whiskey in the Jar, which
You mean the album?
I feel like on the album.
Well, here's the thing. Whiskey in the Jar is both a bonus track for this album and the previous one.
Yeah.
It's not like on the actual canon, 9 songs or however many that are on here. It's just mostly included on here.
It was released as a single against the band's wishes.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't feel like it was representative of who they are, but it was their first big song.
Yeah.
You hear that a lot with bands like Run DMC was not a fan of Walk This Way.
Right.
It blew up. Kind of similar situation here. I think a lot of people our generation, outside of Boys Are Back in Town, if you went through a Metallica phase, your other introduction to Thin Lizzy was Metallica covering Whiskey in a Jar.
I heard Metallica's version of it when I was a little kid, and I was in love with the song. With the song, and then eventually, in like passing, I heard the Thin Lizzy version. I was like, "This is way different." I'm so confused. Like even the chords are different. And then years after that, when I rediscovered Thin Lizzy, I'm like, "Oh, this is just the best song ever. This is one of the best covers ever, because Whiskey in the Jar is a traditional folk song, Irish folk song. And Thin Lizzy's version of it is one of the most gorgeous things. This album is worthy. It's just worth that alone.
It's got gondola guitars on it.
Gondola guitars. There's no bass on it. It's just 2 acoustic guitars. No, I mean, acoustic guitars and electric guitar. Yeah. It sounds like Lynott's playing guitar, and it's real nice. It's real good.
I don't know what whack for my daddy-o means, but it's fucking hilarious.
Whack for my daddy-o. Yeah. Where's the other lyric? Restoring Mama Do Mama Da or whatever.
Yeah, that's almost like that Michael Jackson song he sampled Mama Say Mama Sa Mama Kusa.
Yeah, it's a lot
it's like one of those things.
It's a lot of like I'm because it's such an old song, traditional folk song. There's like a lot of just like syllables, not even real words in there, but it's like, I don't know. It's an oddly moving song.
Yeah, I just assumed the odd words were like old Irish or something. But there's some good songs on here. Yeah. The Hero and the Madman is this more like funky psychedelic stuff.
Hate it. Go on.
Yep. The Rocker. I think the Rocker is the first like fully realized rockin' Thin Lizzy song.
Here's the thing. I personally hate it, but I definitely get it. I get it. It's objectively not a terrible song. It's the first kind of rockin' Thin Lizzy thing we get, like you just said. And I see how it would appeal to a lot of people. For me, it's just sort of like, okay, this is an okay rock song. And then that fucking nonsense solo goes on for like 10 minutes. Not literally, obviously. But it's so long. And here it's properly placed on the album though. Because
right in the middle.
Yeah. Like Mount Nature said, the opening track, love that song so much. I remember distinctly when I first heard it, I put it on this album, and then as soon as that first phrase, that first vocal phrase came on, I was like, oh, I'm a fan of Thin Lizzy. This is amazing. And then the rest, like the second song is Hero and the Madman. I'm like, ugh. And then Slow Blues comes on. I was like, fuck, this sucks. And then the Rocker.
Slow Blues.
The Rocker is like, compared to Slow Blues, it's fucking amazing.
Slow Blues isn't amazing, but I think the production to make the drums sound like almost like big band jazz drums is an interesting choice there. And then the other song I love on here, I'm gonna creep up on you.
Hate it. It's so ridiculous.
It's so sleazy.
It is so. You know what? We're gonna put it on right now. This is gonna creep up on you.
Someone's gonna get pregnant right now.
Listen to that bass.
I like the way he says, "I'm gonna creep up on you."
Gonna creep up on you.
I love it.
There's even heavy breathing in it. It's like it's so sleazy.
Yeah.
It's got that wah pedal.
I'm gonna creep up on ya.
Yeah.
Dude, I like to think after Phil has like properly introduced himself to a lady at the bar and they're kind of like feeling it out.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's some consensual stuff going on. He'll be like, I got to go to the bathroom. And then when he comes back from the bathroom, he just like leans over her shoulder and goes, I'm going to go creep up on you.
I feel like not all of it was consensual, man. You with a phrase like that, you're going to be creeping up on some people.
Dude, with that voice, it's all consensual.
So much like the last album, I felt this was completely two-sided. 4 songs I adore, 4 songs I hated. And I'm going to say Little Girl in Bloom, I think is one of my favorite Thin Lizzy songs ever. I think it's one of the most beautiful ballads ever written. And it to this day, it makes me sad and nostalgic hearing it. Like, cause it's like I remember that time period in my life. I remember, failed relationship stuff. And it's like,
Sure.
And I was listening to this band a lot back then. That song is so good and it holds up so well. I might cover it. That's how much I love Little Girl in Bloom. And
the only song I like dislike is the last track, a song
I
for
love
a while.
I love it. I love it. It's so cheesy. It's so bad. It's so ballady. But it's beautifully written. The actual writing of it, like the presentation is real cheesy. And this is kind of where they start to do cheesy ballads and where it's kind of like, kind of cringy. But I love the writing of it. I think it's really nice.
If we fusion danced, this is a perfect album.
I know, right? All the songs that you like, I hated, and vice versa. It's crazy. It's fucking. But also, you gotta give it up to the title track.
Oh yeah, great,
real good.
Oh, also great title. It's long, but it's so unique. It's
Vagabonds of the Western World. It's a great title. Yeah.
Yeah, and like the album art is perfect, done by Jim Fitzpatrick, who would do a number of album art for the band up until Johnny and the Fox, I think.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, like his artwork just like fits the title so perfectly.
It pops. And honestly, the reason why I started with this album is because since I was a kid listening to Metallica, this cover was in the booklet of Garage Inc.
Oh, okay.
And I always recognized it. I never knew what it was. And when I finally, as an adult, because it took me that long because I'm an idiot, realized what it was, I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. Like that cover resonated so much as a kid.
It's interesting how Fitzpatrick's artwork is very sci-fi.
Yeah.
Like, you don't really get a sci-fi vibe from Thin Lizzy when you're listening to their music.
I would say never. And it's kind of hard to avoid the re-releases of this album, especially on streaming. So I'm only going to comment on the bonus tracks because I've heard them so many fucking times. Obviously, you get Whiskey in the Jar, which is like, a staple. And then you also get a few others that are mostly stinkers. But I do like Randolph's Tango. Once again, another weird anomaly in their discography. It's like very salsa and like flamenco sounding. Not a thing they dabble with too much, but it's cute. The rest are like, blues bullshit, but I'm only mentioning it because I've never seen a version of this album that doesn't have all those songs on it. At least now.
I didn't know we were doing that.
I would say we weren't. It's only because I've heard it so many times in the past that I'm commenting on it. But it's a weird, like, I don't really like this album that much. Like, once again, has 4 of my favorite Thin Lizzy songs ever. But as an album, it's like, fuck, man, this is not consistent at all. Like, the pacing's all out of whack. It's odd.
I think it's one of their stronger ones. And
I thought that before going in, but I came out with some differences. But
I don't even know what I thought going in. But yeah, like you said earlier, coming out, I'm a changed man.
Changed man. But still worth it for the strong stuff. Let us move on to the fucking next one. My God, we are only 4 albums in, but we're not going to stop, man. We're chugging along. I hope this isn't a 3-hour episode, but I think we'll be all right. This is 1974's Nightlife.
So, when this is also an album I neglected,
Same.
and for a while I thought I hated it,
Right.
but then I think around the halfway mark, I was like, this isn't a rockin' album,
No.
but I kind of like it.
All right. It is definitely not the band that we were just listening to, and it's not the band that we would hear after this album. This album is a full-on transition album.
Especially when you're sick.
Yeah, I'm gonna let this song play.
Yeah.
I need you quick. She knows
This is a nice song.
that she gives
Super nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, the cover is so metal. It's
Oh yeah.
a panther with like this cityscape, and the music is not.
I didn't even notice the Panther until you pointed it out. It's like, fuck, man, that's funny. All right, let's talk a bit.
So, due to the departure of Eric Bell,
No more Eric
Lynott
Bell.
made one of the best decisions ever, and said this band needs 2 guitar players.
Yeah.
You don't fully get the full like 2 guitar player sound that
No.
Thin Lizzy is known for, but
Not yet,
you know,
anyway.
the wheels are in motion.
Right. And having said
And,
that, worst album.
Wow.
Yeah, worst,
Wow.
and it's not a contest. Boy.
It was a contest for me, although this wasn't in contention for me for I feel like it's an appropriate title because it's a lot of music that sounds like it's closing time at a bar.
Yeah.
There's songs about these sleazy lowlifes throughout the album. So as far as like the theme of the album goes, I feel like they executed that pretty well. But the music is not like, it's a weird vibe for sure.
Yeah, it's so coming off the last one, there's no where they were kind of just almost like teetering on the edge of proggy, and they had a lot of blue stuff, and Eric Bell was kind of a wild guitarist. That's all gone. I really felt Bell's absence in this one. And then after this is when they start going, harmonized guitar solos, more rockin', higher energy. We're not there yet. So we're right in the middle. And most of it is, it's really ballad heavy. And like I said before,
Yes.
I don't like their ballads. And then even their non-ballads, I'm really fucking not into it. This is when came out of left field. I was like, how did they suck so quickly after all those albums? And I know what comes after this. They get good again. So it was like this weird, how is this that bad? And I was actually trying to decide between this and one other one, which was the worst. I went back to both, and this was the only one that was like, no, this is, I still hate this. This is like, the other one I didn't even hate that much afterward. Like, I like the opening track a little bit, and Shalala is real good.
That's the song where you'll hear the full, like what Thin Lizzy will become.
Yeah.
That song just smacks you in the face. It's almost inappropriate to be on this album.
Completely inappropriate.
It does
Those
not
double
fit the
pedals?
rest- Huh?
Are those double pedals?
I think he does use, because there's a few tracks on here, like It's Only Money. God damn, the kick drum on that song is nuts, especially for the 70s.
Oh yeah. This early on.
Some of the things I enjoyed, Still in Love with You. I can totally imagine like Charles Bradley doing that song.
Oh, wait, who's singing that? That's a rare appearance of another vocalist singing lead.
I think it's one of the guitar players.
Mhm.
I think it's either Scott or Brian Robertson.
I am not a fan of that song. The same with like Frankie.
Sorry.
Oh, who is it?
So it's a guy named Frankie Miller who was not really in the band in any capacity. He just sang on that song.
Interesting. Another example of the really heavy balladry is Frankie Carroll, which I like the piano and strings on it a lot, but the song itself is not that interesting. Like,
All right. R.I.P. Frankie, gunned down in his prime.
Is that based on something?
No, I got that from comedian Ian Carmel. He just says that like jokingly when like an old person dies who would never be gunned down.
Yeah.
Say that. It's one of the most Irish songs ever in terms of context. I think it's not a super strong song. I just really like the story of Frankie.
Okay. Even the title track is another ballad, pretty much. And then Dear Heart, like they're all just so fucking boring, man. Like, God. And it sounds fine. The production is clean and nice. And the instrumentation and the musicianship is all good. It's always been good. But I would say damn near every song is just so fucking predictable. I like Banshee, but it's like a minute and a half long transition song. It's like, and it's instrumental. Yeah. It's not really a full song. So I really only like 2 songs in the whole album. And only one of them I actually liked. It doesn't fit in. It's both bad in the context of their full discography, and I feel it's boring as hell on its own. This is the only one that really irked me.
I think, it's not a must listen, but I think if you're a Thin Lizzy fan or maybe even like a funk rock fan, it's worth checking out. And definitely Sha-La-La is a Thin Lizzy classic, a staple in any greatest hits. So listen to that. And then I feel like you're not giving Showdown enough credit.
I hate it.
Showdown. This man said Showdown is not, it's an actual showdown, a fight. It's also a metaphor for sex.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Fucking hilarious calling sex a showdown to me.
Is it not, Alex? Is it not? No, it's not. But like, fuck, that's hilarious.
Yes.
But this is, I think this is the worst. Personally, I can't take it. Not gonna ever go back to this one. But Showdown, apparently it has some merit. But Sha-La-La alone, at least Sha-La-La.
Yes.
Let us move on. Let us do now. This is 1975's Fighting.
She's quite the mediator, a smoother operator you will never see.
I don't want to give anything away too much, but I feel like they're Thin Lizzy now.
No one dare disobey her.
I got some feelings about this.
Alex got some feelings.
No music, do you see? She got the power, the teen queen Rosalie.
All right, y'all get the idea. That's Rosalie.
So this is my least favorite. I think it's one of their weakest albums. But saying that, I gave it least favorite because I can acknowledge there is good musicianship.
There is some good shit on this album, damn it.
Another reason, I don't feel like it gets out of second gear. It's just kind of in, like, all the songs are very, like, cookie cutter radio rock to me.
That's how I felt about the last one.
Oh yeah,
but this one is far more. There's a lot. It's more rockin', I guess, for lack of a better term. There's more guitar harmony stuff. They're closer to Thin Lizzy as everybody recognizes them.
They do make some leaps there, like Suicide.
Yeah,
I don't really like it, but goddamn, that first guitar solo on that song
it's incredible.
One of the best Thin Lizzy guitar solos.
If it wasn't, I only like Suicide because of all the guitar stuff happening. It's real good.
For Those Who Love to Live,
love it.
I feel like that intro very misleading. It's almost like Black Sabbath's Children of the Grave, but then you just kind of get this mediocre song.
How dare you? I think it's fucking awesome. And it's also the first time we get those, well, not the first time, but like one of the earliest times we get those damn guitar harmonies. Mm-hmm. I love it. I love that song.
So to me, the best song on here, and I still don't even like it that much, is Wild One.
You're a monster. Go on.
I like the open. Is it the main chorus guitars? I like those guitars a lot. Real good. The stuff in between, not a fan.
Love Wild One. And also, I don't know how you can deny me Freedom Song. I think it's one of the most underrated Thin Lizzy songs ever. I think that's a fucking instant classic.
I thought it was a pretty boring, basically track 6, 7, 8, 9, I thought were pretty boring. But, I'll go back and give Freedom Song another listen.
No, we're doing it right now, you son of a bitch.
We're doing it right now.
This is Freedom Song.
Right now.
This feels like a classic to me. I love this song.
I tell the hard love story about a man named Jack McDuff. He believed in the God.
This is total movie credit song.
Just wasn't
I
tough.
fucking love it.
I believe in the freedom song. Long live liberty.
I don't understand how someone who likes Thin Lizzy can't like this song. I don't get it. Personally, I think you're out of your fucking mind, Alex.
I'll choose my own.
It's not like offensive or bad.
No.
It's just
I think it's beautiful. I love those chord changes. I also like King's Vengeance a lot too.
That's when I think the album gets boring.
Oh, I mean, I do agree that Spirit Slips Away and Silver Dollar are god awful.
Yep.
I don't even think they're. But the thing is, I don't think they're as bad as some of the stuff on the last album. I don't like them, but like the last one was just so consistently boring. Whereas this one has it has spikes, it has peaks.
To me, the last album was like kind of endearing in the stories it told. Where, like, how do I want to say this? Like, you could almost say, like, it's interesting in a bad way, like the way a bad movie is, like a good bad movie.
That's probably why I thought it was bad.
Yeah, and this one is just like, I guess it's not offensive. It's just
it's not
memorable to me.
So
even
go ahead.
Ballad of a Hard Man, which ironically is their heaviest song on the album.
Oh yeah.
Still boring to me.
It's not the worst. I don't love it the way some of their other heavier songs, but it's all right. So I when I first heard this, I had just obviously we had just heard Nightlife, and I hated it so much that this one felt amazing. I was like, oh, this is awesome again. I love them. They're great again. And it was in like my short list of potential bests. Went back to it, I was like, not even close. But like I said, it's weird when you take it out of the context of the chronology, it changes. Like compared, like when you listen to it in order, this isn't that bad to me, but by itself, it's definitely not one of their best albums. But I still think Freedom Song is great, and For Those Who Live to Live, and Suicide just for the guitar stuff.
I think this is a pretty beloved album, though, and I'm in the minority, though. So people should listen to Mike on this one, and
because Mike is Mr. Mainstream. He's got the easily agreeable opinions. Wearing my fucking Deaf Heaven shirt as we speak. One thing I should mention now before I forget. It was a little bit more prevalent on the last album, but from here on out, bass is pretty much being a bass. Whereas the first three albums, mostly the first three albums, Lynott was doing some crazy shit. He was basically another guitar player.
I feel like that's because he started off as a guitar player.
You could tell. You could definitely tell.
And he kind of just moved into bass out of necessity.
That's like another Chris Squire from Yes situation. It's a guitar player playing bass, and you could definitely hear it. And I typically like that. I know a lot of people don't really care for that style, but go ahead.
Everyone in this band shreds, and he's one of the best bass players
for
ever,
sure,
in my opinion.
The thing is, I do think it's a very musically smart choice to take a back seat to the guitars, because what we hear later on, it's like, oh yeah, if there was another, if he was doing what he was doing earlier on in some of these later albums, it would just be too much.
Well, it also, like, he had to know that too. one, being a guitar player, like he had to know bringing on two guitar players what it would do to his bass playing. Like there's no way he thought.
Yeah, I mean, anybody who's this good at writing music should know.
Yeah, they're all way too music savvy to not think about that.
Yeah. So let's move on now to the big one. This is one that everyone will recognize. Maybe not all their albums people will know, but they'll know parts of it. This is the one that we all have heard throughout our tiny little lives. This is 1976, Jailbreak. I'm going to go ahead and say it from the start. Anyone who doesn't like this song is mentally ill.
This is the perfect encapsulates, like, yeah, me and the boys are going out on the town.
He's always been like, with his vocal style, really conversational, full-on sentences. This album is the fucking peak of that shit.
I agree. This is peak crazy lyrics. Yeah. I wrote down so many lyrics.
This song alone has maybe my favorite lyric of all time. We'll talk about it after.
Okay.
Somewhere in the town, tonight there's gonna be a jailbreak, so won't you be around?
Okay.
Don't you be around?
Okay, all right. So the lyric I had mentioned, the best thing. Oh, you know damn well what it is. Hey, you, good-looking female, come here.
Hilarious. Did David Lee Roth do that too? Or?
David Lee Roth did some gnarly shit, I'm sure. Episode 18, we talk about Van Halen. I love that. I love that. So that stupid.
Good. Also, the lyric in the main chorus, I feel like gets brushed over. Tonight, there's going to be a jailbreak somewhere in this town. How many fucking jails are in this town?
My guess would be the jail is where the jailbreak would be occurring. I'm going to go ahead and throw out a controversial opinion. One of the most overrated albums.
I also have that written down.
Holy shit. I can't believe we're seeing this eye to eye on this one. I'm really, I thought I was going to get some fighting going on. Pardon the pun.
No, this has some fun, like the bangers on here are awesome.
Bangers. Yeah.
But the stuff in between, it's pretty lackluster.
Yeah.
I think people gravitate to this because it's where some of their biggest songs are at.
Three of the biggest ever. Jailbreak, The Boys Are Back in Town, and Cowboy Song.
Oh, this motherfucker just skipped Emerald.
No. Here's the thing. That's the one that people people who listen to the radio know.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Emerald is one of the best, most epic closers of all time. Emerald is fucking incredible.
Yeah. Let me build up to that.
Yeah.
So, Angel from the Coast, that you need to play that intro. That's a crazy drum intro. I think they're like 30-second notes. The song,
the song is whack. The intro is cool. This is Angel from the Coast. And it kicks it off. You think it's going to be a worthy follow-up to the title track, and it doesn't. It doesn't do very much at all. It's pretty boring. It's not terrible, but it's a really disappointing second track. Do like the harmonized solo. The guitar solo is pretty badass.
Oh yeah. This is when they fully realized.
Yeah. Go ahead. Running Back.
Oh, Running Back at the end when he's like, Lord, oh my, oh tra la la, like it's hilarious.
So Running Back is super cheesy. It's got the most generic chord changes in the world. It still kind of has a charm to it. I think it has some sexy saxes, which is like.
I think that's this like Phil Lynott though. Even when it's not great, there's a little bit of charm.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a bad song, but it's just really generic. But the thing is, one thing I had to give it credit for, it's the first instance in the entire Thin Lizzy discography where Lynott's doing the na 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 na, and that's like a dude. If you know Thin Lizzy, you know the na 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 nas. Like those are so legitimately fun. If you ever want to parody or impersonate Thin Lizzy, you do the na na nas. That's like one of the things they're no. So for that alone, that song gets a pass. But then like Romeo and the Lonely Girl, it's so fucking boring. It drags, man. It feels so much longer than it actually is. I don't care for Fight or Fall very much.
But Fight or Fall, not enough fight. But it does make me laugh towards the end of the song when they do the telling myself, like that's pretty hilarious.
This album still has moments, and like I loathe the intro to Warrior, but the song picks up. Like the song is not bad at all. It's just that intro that I don't know why I hate it so much.
Yeah, Warrior is a track that kind of it grew on me that I thought I didn't like going in, but I like it now.
Yeah. And
then it has a great lyric in there when he says, my heart is ruled by Venus, but my head's ruled by Mars. That's some great writing right there.
We need to be preaching that shit, dude. We're different. Dude. Men and women, we're different, okay? It's just the way we are, man. Our brains are ruled by penises. That's exactly what he meant to say, I swear.
And then the big one, the boys are back in town.
Yep. Holds up.
I think I first heard it in Toy Story. So I thought when I was a kid, I thought it was the toys are back in town.
Hey, if it rhymes, then it works.
It's got some great lyrics in there.
I haven't seen that movie in so long. I forgot that. I don't even remember that.
I like, that chick that used to dance a lot. Every night she'd be on the floor shaking what she's got.
Man, she was cool. She was red hot. I mean, she was steaming.
So, like, I don't know if these are meant to be funny, but they're funny to me, and I think it makes the songs way more endearing.
Very, very.
And then another lyric I like in there is Friday night they'll be dressed to kill down at Dino's Bar and Grill. The drinks will flow and the blood will spill. Like, so good.
Very good. Very good.
And if the boys want to fight,
you better let them. Oh, dude, it's
I just love how like matter-of-factly these horrible things are.
Yeah, this dude is just having a conversation, telling stories about just the most gnarly shit. That song holds up. The hits hold up. And then we get to the closer. Oh, Cowboy Song for one.
Cowboy Song.
It's like
that's like Warriors, where I didn't think I was a fan going in, but it grew on me.
Yeah.
Especially when he going back to the Buffaloes, he says like running free with the Buffaloes, and then does like fucking hilarious.
I really love that song. It's extremely poppy, radio friendly. It really reminds me of Freedom song from Fighting. Not Fighting. I mean, well, yeah, it wasn't Fighting, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It really reminds me of that, where it's like, it's pretty obvious and not very interesting chord changes, but just the presentation is so damn charming. And it's like, I mean, you got to love Lynott's voice. And I don't know, I like it a lot.
Another great lyric on there. He says, Lord, I'm just thinking about a certain female.
Yep. Just thinking about
He could have just said, I'm thinking about a female, but he put the word certain in there, and that just drives it to the top for me.
The fact that he keeps using the word female instead of woman is like, it's objectification, but part hilarity. I think it's fucking hilarious.
So good. And now we can talk about Emerald, one of the greatest Thin Lizzy songs ever. Yeah. It's what like made me seek them out more as a band, other than like the songs. So that song almost doesn't have any business being on this album because it's so metal. It's so metal. Yep. It's so rockin'. It would almost fit better on Johnny the Fox or Bad Reputation, but it's hands down one of their best. Laid down the groundwork for epic metal songs. Yep. It is a must listen.
It is shockingly complex compared to the rest of the album. It's proggy as fuck. It's bombastic. It's got this big ass, so much build up, man. It's so good.
The 16th note beat that Downing is playing is so fucking fast, and it's just everything is
like
killer on there.
You think it's like this. You think you know what's happening. Like the first half is like this big rockin' building, and then that break in the middle, and all of a sudden it's the most beautiful thing ever. And it's mind blowing to me that the song is only fucking 4 minutes long. Like it has the intensity of an epic. Yeah.
It could be 8 minutes long, but yeah.
So once again, this is yet another two-sided album. Like it's not as what's the word, dichotomized as like Vagabonds, where like I love 4 songs and I hate 4 songs, but it's like half of it's really good and the other half is like, oh, it's just whatever. I think it's pretty overrated. I don't know why this one people go to this one. Maybe because the hits or something. I don't know.
It's because The Boys Are Back in Town was their best charting, biggest hit. And at least, we're coming at this from an American perspective. They would never top this album in America.
Yeah.
So I think with time, they're remembered more fondly as an album band over here in America, thankfully. Yeah. But during this tour, Lynott caught hepatitis and canceled tour.
Hey man, dude, with all the fact that certain movements have not shined an eye toward the 70s rock icons is super hypocritical, because these guys got it. These dudes were about it. These guys went around the world doing shit like that.
They worked hard. They fucking play hard.
Yeah.
Especially with the newfound success in America, they loved it. They loved Hollywood. They love New York.
It's so grimy, dude.
Party animals.
That's one thing I fucking do not like about Thin Lizzy is it's very transparent how much they love that lifestyle. And boy, I'm not that kind of guy personally. I don't like going out. So it's just like, oh man, you really rolled into this rock star thing. That's pretty fucking nasty to me. Says a guy who loves Van Halen.
There's some very stereotypical rock star tropes that they went through, that a lot of 70s rock bands went through, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? They still made some rockin' tunes. But good album, great for the hits, but they can do better, and we will get there. So we are now on to 1976's Johnny the Fox.
I love this.
Oh, I hate this.
Really?
Yeah. Well, maybe not this riff specifically, but as it goes on.
I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything. I almost gave this best album, but I didn't.
My heart. This riff right here, this whole section, this verse section is like, did a 13-year-old write this?
Maybe, but I love it.
Fair. Like that chorus is cool, but I was hoping for more. It just has the 3 notes and then it moves on.
Yeah, this album does not, and there's a pun intended, this album doesn't have the hits, but I think it hits way harder. I think it's one of their heavier albums. Mm-hmm. He wrote this, while recovering from the hepatitis. Obviously, commercially kind of failed to capitalize on Jailbreak, but I think Johnny's kind of like a sequel to The Boys Are Back in Town. It's just a rocking good time about criminals.
This was almost worse for me. I almost gave this worse. Shit. But then once again, I keep saying the same thing, going back, taking it out of the context of chronology. Not that bad. It's not that bad. At least not what I originally thought. But the way it's sandwiched between the last album and the next album, I think is bad for it. Because it's, for one, it's snappier and heavier, which is good, but also the writing I felt was just way more basic and generic and it's very samey throughout the whole thing. It has that kind of angsty feel throughout the whole album.
I will say that the lyrics aren't as charming as they were on Jailbreak. Very, like, I kind of went over some of the charming lyrics on Jailbreak. Not so much on this one. You got songs like Borderline, where he says, 7 beers in, still sober. Time to change to something stronger. God damn. That's an Irish thing to say.
I think you got a problem, Phil. I think you got a problem.
I mean, he does.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Borderline, it's super cheesy and ballady, but I actually like it. I think it works. Not so much as a ballad, but as like the way it's written. I think it's a good song. As well as the solo section of Rocky is fucking real good.
I feel like Fool's Gold kind of starts off like you think it's going to be an epic like Emerald, but
yeah, not for me.
It's okay. Not really the title track, but Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed. The band has pretty much abandoned funk, and this is the first time we kind of go back to the funk.
Ridiculously funky.
Yeah, I think it's a good track, though.
I absolutely hate it. I really hate it. Hey, I'm starting to figure out that I don't like funk. That's what I'm starting to figure out through all this. I fucking hate it. Yeah.
I think it worked. And then this album's Emerald is totally Massacre. Massacre's amazing. So good.
It didn't hit me until like the third time I heard this album, or the second time, I forget. Massacre's pretty all right. Yeah.
I listen to that song and I'm like, Iron Maiden has to love this song, and like huge. And we talked about it at the top of the podcast. Like, there's no way this song didn't influence Iron Maiden, and sure enough, they've covered it, and it was a big influence on them. Man,
Iron Maiden would not have. Like, that's the thing. I'm not an Iron Maiden fan, which is pretty controversial to a lot of people. And it's like if you like Iron Maiden, then you have to like Thin Lizzy, because they just pretty much everything. All Iron Maiden is galloping and harmonized guitars, and well, Thin Lizzy kind of did that first.
Yeah, and also throw Judas Priest in there. Judas Priest doesn't have the like dual, or I guess in Iron Maiden's case, triple, guitar harmonies. Or I found out there's a term, guitarmonies.
Guitarmonies, of course, that's a word.
Judas Priest doesn't have as many guitarmonies as Iron Maiden does, but yeah, if you like those two bands and you're not listening to Thin Lizzy, what are you doing with your life?
Sweet Marie, I don't know if it sounds like a banjo in there. I don't know what it is. I can't really tell. It's really faint. It's only during I can't recall if it's the verse or chorus part, but like it has that. The whole song in general has a lot of really cool sounds and some solid riffs, but it's just so slow and tropical, and overall I just can't help but get bored during it. And then
go
ahead.
Looking at the tracks as I'm listening to the album, because I've heard this before, but it's kind of neglected. I'm looking at Boogie Woogie Dance, and I'm kind of dreading it, thinking it's going to be like a blues standard. Metal as fuck.
Boogie Woogie Dance is not quite a boogie nor a woogie. It's pretty metal. It's not bad.
Yes.
And yeah, like I was saying before, like I hated this one at first, but I think it's just because it's sandwiched between two classic albums. On its own, it's not the worst, but I still think the writing is like it's kind of like Jailbreak B-sides kind of. Everything feels like something they've done before, but a worse version.
Before doing this podcast, if you had asked me off the top of my head, I would have said Johnny the Fox came after Bad Reputation, because like Jailbreak and Bad Reputation are just like where the hits are at.
Yeah.
And I thought it was like a 1-2 punch. But no, you got Johnny the Fox sandwiched in between here.
Yeah, it's interesting.
This is when tensions between Brian Roberts and Lynott were rising, made worse when Roberts injured his hand in a bar fight, and they had to cancel a tour.
In a bar fight? How much more Irish can you get? Oh my God.
You know what's funny? Scott Gorham isn't even Irish. He's from LA and somehow ended up in this band. But I think it's kind of unfair that Phil can get hepatitis and cancel a tour, but Brian Robertson can't get into a fist fight in a bar. Seems a little unfair.
I will say that they're both very irresponsible things to get into at the fault of the person who had it done to them. Like, you're not accidentally getting hepatitis nor getting in bar fights.
Yeah. So this kind of leads to Robertson kind of having a vague status in the band. Like, is he in the band? Is he not in the band? It's very, very confusing.
So this album, it's not the worst. I personally don't care for it much. I'm not going to go back to it. Alex finds a lot to love. But now let's move on to yet another big one. This is 1977's Bad Reputation.
A soldier of fortune came home from war.
Got those synths going on.
What he was fighting.
You know, I don't know how to feel about this song.
I had never heard this album before this podcast, even though it was never heard it. And I was pleasantly surprised by this opening track, because this intro sucks. Let's just be honest. This is a horrible intro. But the song kicks up.
Yeah,
for those about to die.
Gave them credit for their openers, but this is not one of their best openers.
I think it is. I like this song. Like that already. I'm already in.
Oh yeah, there's the guitar minis.
Yep.
Because that's the thing. Whenever I'm like, the song is weak, or I feel indifferent towards it, man, the guitars are always...
Almost every single time. It's like one of the most, it's one of the more reliable things about this band.
For sure. Yeah. Also, the drumming is always
very
insane.
Tight. All right, I'm going to do it. Best album.
This was in contention, but I did some soul searching. And I did too. So it was in contention, but not for me. I totally understand why though. I can't believe I'd never heard this album before. And this is insane to me.
Yeah. And I've been a Thin Lizzy fan for a while, and I've heard a million albums, not a million, obviously, just a few, but it's like, it still has, like, I don't care for The Woman's Gonna Break Your Heart very much. And so,
really,
you like that one a lot?
I like that song.
Wow.
It's kind of brings back the absurdity of like Jailbreak. This is over the top. Talking about what women are going to do to men.
It's pretty ridiculous. Yeah. And also Southbound, I don't love it, but I don't hate it. It's just sort of like in the middle for me. But aside from those two, this is, I felt like their most consistent album beginning to end. Like, it's not going to have, there's no, Boys Are Back in Town. There's no like fucking top of the mountain peaks where it's just one of their most amazing songs ever. But in terms of consistency, it's like they're all real good. It's like,
I disagree. I think after the Boys Are Back in Town, I think Bad Reputation.
It's real good. Yeah. Go ahead.
I gave like Emerald credit for me wanting to seek out like more them as an album band, but Bad Reputation was on the Dogtown and Z-Boy soundtrack, and like when that movie came out, I thought that was like the coolest fucking documentary ever. And the soundtrack had these like offbeat classic rock picks like Thin Lizzy, James Gang, and Mountain. So I listened to that soundtrack a lot.
Mhm.
And yeah, Bad Reputation is just, that's one, to me, one of the few songs, they're just turned up to 10
Oh,
in
yeah.
terms of technical ability.
About the title track, I find it to be pretty silly and overly cool. It's just so cool. It's called Bad Reputation. But it's like,
it's perfect.
it's
Again,
still
it's
real
perfect.
good though. It's still real good. Like,
It's perfect for a documentary about skateboarders. Like, if this fits in the drum solos are unhinged, but like in pocket, it's crazy.
yeah, it's damn good.
Also, before we get into the songs more, Robertson is only on 3 songs on here. He's not on the front album cover. But if you have the album or the CD, he is in the booklet in the back cover. So it's super confusing. Is he in the band? Is he not in the band?
Sounds like some politics in the band there.
Yeah. Opium Trail. It starts Phil's, unfortunate obsession with drugs, and like you said, very transparent that he's doing drugs now.
Yeah. It's from not this point exactly, but like as the albums go on, man, like I start to get like, oh boy, this is going down a dark path. This guy it's not going to end well for this guy. And spoiler, it did not end well for that guy. But
it did not.
No. But one thing I'll say, go ahead.
Oh, the other big hit on here, surprisingly, is "Dancing in the Moonlight."
Beautiful.
Not a very Thin Lizzy song, but I think it's super fun.
It's awesome. I love it, and I think even the sexy saxes in there work pretty well.
It works.
Yep.
I don't know if it's considered a ballad, but if it is, it's one of their best ballads
for sure. I think it's a little high energy to be considered a ballad, but I mean, because all their ballads are usually really boring and really fucking cheesy, but that one is real good. One thing I didn't like about the last album was the guitar harmonies, as we call them. They're there, but they're really subdued. And then this one, from the opening track, they're like, okay, they're back here, and get used to them, okay? And throughout the whole album, they're just so fucking great. Back with a Vengeance, really. What else? I think Downtown Sundown is probably the ballad on here, and it's cheesy. But I still like it.
I think that's the weakest track on here.
Really, it's not. It's not one of the best, but I do still like it. Yeah, this one's like, it didn't. So it's weird because I don't know what it is about Thin Lizzy, because I had this conundrum with a Replacements episode 27, where I was kind of at a cross between 2 albums, and one of them had the best songs separated by some stuff I didn't care for, and the other one was just consistent beginning to end, but no giant highlights, no really big songs that I loved, and I ended up giving best to the one with the better songs but had some filler. And that's usually not what I do, because in terms of album construction, album flow, and pacing, it's even if it doesn't have, it doesn't go to space with how good it is. It doesn't go to the fucking top of the mountain. I like consistent experiences. So that was kind of an exception. This one for Thin Lizzy, this album I think is the most consistent. I don't love these songs as much as I do other songs on other albums, but if you're going to choose a beginning to end album from this band that has a million albums, this is a comprehensive, consistent representation. Really, Thin Lizzy is you got to find a playlist or a greatest hits, because
that's the best way to do it.
It is. They're really a greatest hits band, but in terms of consistent albums that were released during their lifetime, I think this is the best. I really do.
No, just might be a coincidence. I will say, if you're a band from the 70s and you put out a silhouette photo of your band in black and white with red font, I will probably love that album a lot.
Really?
Because us, I don't even know if we're going to get around to it, but spoilers, similar album cover, King Crimson's Red. This 3 dudes, almost identical album cover. Love that album.
Hey, King Crimson's Red. That's a big discography. I don't know we're going to get to it. Listen to Red by King Crimson. It's Very spicy. It's very good. Okay.
And look at the album covers.
Yeah.
Bad Reputation and Red right
Very
next
similar.
to each other.
Very similar.
Same band.
All right. So this is my best.
Oh,
Alex,
real quick. Sorry, I forgot a weird tidbit I found out. They kind of formed like a super group with Steve Jones and Paul Cook.
Really?
The Sex Pistols, called the Greedy Bastards. And that gave them like some street cred with the punks.
Interesting.
And they played some shows, but they only recorded one song, and I think it was like a Christmas songs of all the songs to record.
Very weird.
But that's just a cool random tidbit.
That's very interesting. I always wonder why, because I know as a guy who's was pretty into punk, they really shit on arena rock and metal. They were not fans. Thin Lizzy never got shit on though. Thin Lizzy was always kind of like a pass, and now I'm starting to see why. Interesting, not just because they're really good, but interesting.
They're getting into bar fights and
yeah, seriously. But let us move on now to 1979's Black Rose, a rock legend.
the big swinging drums for you.
Big drums. This is the first change in production that we've heard in a long time.
Yep. Also, officially, Robertson got the boot here.
Say it again?
Officially, Robertson's like out of the band.
Okay.
State the fate that awaits those who try to shake or take you. Don't let them break you. You can do anything you want to do. It's not wrong what I say.
So sounds like very simplified chord changes with guitar harmonies all over the place.
This is a very poppy Thin Lizzy song.
I love it. I think it's a great song. All right, let's talk.
This is another song album. I was like, should I give this? I almost gave this best.
So did I.
Didn't.
It was between this and Bad Reputation for me. What it ended up, because this album undoubtedly has like what I think is the highest of high Thin Lizzy songs. And you know what I'm going to say. You know which song I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, let's build to that.
Let's build to it.
It's at the end. This album is a fucking miracle because Lynott and Gorham were so strung out. They were they were strung out because they were depressed. They couldn't like replicate the success of Jailbreak.
Yeah.
At least not in America.
Right.
UK, they always did real good in the UK. But they were so depressed and strung out. I have no idea how this album came out the way it did because it's real good. It's one of their best albums.
It's definitely one of their best albums. This was my favorite coming in. And I thought it was going to still be my favorite. But really, man, it's just another Vagabonds. Like half the album is like, oh, this is the best shit ever. And the other half is like, God damn, that's weak. And the way it's paced well enough, or it's paced decently given the circumstances, but you got S&M right at the beginning, man. That song fucking blows. Like
I disagree.
Do you like that? You like that song?
I love S&M. It's has some of the like silliness when he's like he likes to beat the ladies. There's nothing wrong with that, I suppose. And then they cue in soul singers to go, yes, there is. It's fucking hilarious.
That is hilarious. I don't think it's a fucking enjoyable song, though. I mean, that is legit hilarious.
I dig it. I dig it.
And like another thing, Toughest Street in Town is not a terrible song, but it's way too long for what it, because it does very little. It has like 2 chords or pretty basic ass generic chords. And it's track 2 after we had that fucking wank off amazing guitar harmony fest that, you know, do anything you want to. It's like such a great opening. And then, man, it's just a rough opening.
Here's the thing about Toughest Street in Town is you think that would be like a more metal song. It's so corny that I kind of love it.
It's very corny.
It doesn't fit. And then I like the juvenile lyrics on there. I like when he says, like a rat in the pack, it attacks from the back through a crack in a track, and you take a smack. Like it sounds like someone's first rap. Like he just picked.
That is not isolated to that one song. This whole album is full of stupid over rhymes. He over rhymes in this entire fucking dude. The opening track, people will despise you and analyze and criticize you, tell lies until they realize you were somebody they should have apologized to. Don't let these people compromise you. Be wise to, dude. That's literally the verse. Every word rhymes. That's so fucking hokey. It's so hokey.
And then we get to, and despite that, I still think he's one of the greatest lyricists ever.
God damn.
And then we talked about it earlier, but we get to Sarah, and I feel bad because it's about his daughter, but it's not
good.
Song.
On the streaming, it's called My Sarah. I think it was originally called Sarah. Just by itself.
Yeah, they might do that to differentiate between the two.
It's extremely cheesy. It's really rough. It's rough. However, before that, Waiting for an Alibi, one of their bigger hits. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's a great song. Another very obvious, hey, you guys are doing drugs, aren't you?
Yeah.
Song. But real good.
The backup vocals in the chorus straight up sound like the Police. It's hilarious. I love it.
There are elements in the band where I thought about the Police.
Yeah. Episode 5? Was that Police? I think it was episode 5.
It's a long time ago.
Long time ago. But the thing is, I mean, Thin Lizzy has so many great solos, but Waiting for an Alibi, I think, has one of the best guitar solos of all time. So much so that I'm going to put it on right now because of how much I fucking adore this solo. It's around 2:40 into the song, and here we go. Good. Oh God, this is just so triumphant and satisfying, and God damn, I like this band.
I don't really have anything to say about "Gotta Give It Up, Get Out of Here with Love."
I do.
So
I like "Gotta Give It Up." I think it's the verse specifically, the rest of it's kind of okay. The verse is so damn good. It's like, especially after the wimp fest that was that's Sarah, because of how fucking cheesy and corny and wimpy it is. Got to give it up. Gotta give it up. Gotta give it up for it.
Gotta give it up.
But Get Out of Here and With Love, I don't care for them really. I mean, I think With Love has some cool guitar stuff going on, but for the most part, those are real weak.
I think for me, the thing that makes those songs worse is it is making me wait for one of their best songs ever. The only song people need to listen to on St. Patrick's Day.
Ever.
You're full. You're a fool if you're listening to Flogging Molly on St. Patrick's Day.
Get the fuck out of here with that, dude. How do you pronounce it? Roisin Dub?
I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm just going to call it Black Rose.
Black Rose.
Hands down. One of the greatest rock and roll songs
ever written. 7 minutes of perfection. This song starts amazing, gets more amazing, ends amazing.
Even does something like that sounds corny on paper with like we're going to play like an Irish jig guitar solo, like that very traditional Irish jig, but it fucking works and it sounds perfectly great.
Everything there's like in the middle there's like a medley of Irish folk songs, obviously stylized like Thin Lizzy, very rock.
You got Danny Boy, probably the most popular Irish,
and all of it comes across as amazing. None of that a single second of this song is cringy. It's all wonderful. And then that main riff, which I'm gonna put on just the main riff real quick.
Please do.
If you have any problems with this riff, I want you to quickly silence yourself, please, because this is the best song ever written.
Yes.
This song is just the best riff ever. It's the best riff ever. I'm gonna force myself to lower it because I want to listen. I already want to hear the full 7 minutes. That's how much I love that song.
That song is a fucking revelation.
Indeed. That's honestly like that was the hardest thing not giving this best is because of that song. Really.
Yeah, like I came for that song, but Do You Want To, S&M, and Waiting for an Alibi are definitely worth sticking around for.
Yeah,
but
it's a real good album. Obviously, some of their absolute best songs, but the filler in between is just pretty forgettable. And like I said, like the highs on here are so worthy of best, but it's just not consistent enough. It's just, man, it's a bummer, really.
I guess it doesn't matter, but I think also knowing that two of the members are fucking strung out too makes it even more impressive.
It is pretty impressive. I kind of want to say newcomers should start at this one because like it has all the things you want from Thin Lizzy. Not every song's a winner, but if you're a casual listener and you're not really an album person generally, you're going to be skipping around anyway. And the highs on here are so damn high.
Yes. I mean, yeah, it ranks pretty high for me personally if we did a ranking system. Yeah. So I would agree with that it is if you don't need the hits, if you don't need something familiar and you're here for riffage and good times, this is a great starting point, I think.
Hell yeah. So let's move on. We are now in the decade of the 80s now. Thin Lizzy is an 80s band now. And this is 1980s Chinatown.
I had never listened to this album.
Never.
I was real scared too. Not that bad.
Not that bad.
Pretty enjoyable.
Pretty all right. Also, this sounds pretty 80s out the gate, but I'm all right with that.
Yeah, the 80s production starts to seep in.
That isn't done somehow.
So this is a strong, solid track, but it's not anything special.
No, it's not one of the classics. It doesn't do a whole lot of things. It's decent.
It's bringing me down. It's driving me mad. Woman is away from me. We will be strong. I know we have.
So this also continued their downward spiral in the Americas.
That makes sense. That chorus is pretty dramatic. But yeah, you don't hear too much about these last three albums in the States very much. However, I will say I used to share a rehearsal studio with this couple, and the guy was he was an Irish guy, really smart guy, really interesting guy, had great taste in music. This album was both of their favorite Thin Lizzy albums.
You know, I could see how it developed a like cult following because, I thought it was going to be awful. Even like the album cover is off-putting a little bit. Like, it seems off.
Chinese dragon. It has the Chinese font. You know, if you've ever been to any Chinese restaurant.
So you're like, that first song's okay, but I think the title track is real fucking good.
Real good. Good.
I want to know what was going down in Chinatown in the 70s and 80s because Chinatowns just sound like a wild place whenever you watch like Big Trouble in Little. There's lots of references.
Or the movie culture. Chinatown.
It's Chinatown, Jack. So I want to know what the fuck was going on in Chinatowns. So that's real good. This is again very obvious. Hey, you're on drugs. You wrote a fucking song called Sugar Blues.
And I don't even like the song, man. Oh boy.
It's just really straightforward, fast, very obvious. It's about cocaine. You might as well have called it Booger Sugar Blues because it's not really fooling anyone.
Yeah. So like I don't hate this album at all, but it's like it kind of sounds even less like Thin Lizzy somehow. Like Lynott's singing is exactly the same. The guitar harmonies are in full force, but the whole album is way faster. The drums are kind of fucking 80s and fake sounding.
It's all the coke, man.
It's all the coke. Pretty much every song on here is very samey. They all have the same kind of mood happening. There's not a lot of whereas like the last album had the rockin' good times, the kind of more mellow stuff. Like they've never had a great range with their style, but it always felt different enough. From this point onward, it feels like they're kind of like falling back in the same types of chord changes, the same types of songs. But I still like it. Like, even though this to me sounds like someone hired a band to sound like Thin Lizzy, that's what this album sounds like to me. It's still not that bad. My main problem is that every song is way too fucking long. Everything drags. Like everything starts out kind of decent enough, but then they're not long songs, but they're just long for what they're doing.
Okay. Yeah. I didn't have that thought during this album. Going back to the production and being coked out, Killer on the Loose, I think you need to play a little bit of that. Phil's vocal performance is out of 10. Not that he's like yelling in the way that we know yelling now on like modern metal, but it's like he's yelling at you the whole time. It's out of 10. I hope he was on cocaine when he recorded this song. It is one of his crazier vocal performances, I think.
This is Killer.
Not that it's technically impressive.
Right.
It's just like, holy shit, you had to be on one when you did this.
This is Killer on the Loose. This was oddly one of my lesser favorite songs too on the album.
Really? I think it's one of the stronger ones. Never gonna get to those vocals.
Never gonna get to those vocals. God damn it.
Kind of that.
Yeah.
Some people they call me Jack.
Just yelling.
Some people they call me inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm looking for somebody.
You're right.
I'm not looking for you. Wherever you may be. For there's something I gotta do to you, hey. And it's between you and me. That you might think it's fun.
Lot of fun.
All right.
Oh man, I do like Lynott's voice a lot, but yeah, there's like, I don't know, but about this album, it's like it's solid throughout. There's very few actual bad parts, but it's just so straightforward and 80s sounding that
It is.
it's like,
It is very straightforward. I agree. With
yeah. It's so straightforward that every song eventually it's like, okay, yeah, you played this chorus twice already. Can we end the song now? That's pretty much what I felt from beginning to end. It's faster, it's simpler. It's not crazy memorable, but it's also not bad.
I like going back to lyrics that make me laugh. I like having a good time.
Yeah.
Me and my buddies, we're going to get drunk. We're going to go out on the town. We're going to be checking it out, slipping it in, and stepping out of line. Fucking hilarious.
I do like that song too. It's not bad. Fucking A.
And then Genocide really loves buffaloes.
It's literally in the name. It's called Genocide, the Killing of the Buffalo.
We don't take kindly to that around here.
As he's one to remind us. Yeah. But
That might be the last time he sings about buffaloes.
I think so. But yeah. I don't really get the cult following of this album so much. It's fine, but I mean, there's so many albums to choose from.
Just more any album that's like not awful and like doesn't get any kind of love. I feel like people are gonna kind of rally around it.
It's a recipe for a cult album for sure. But other than that, fast. That's like the thing I took away the most from this album. It's the fast one, like one of the more fast ones. Is like it's still the simplistic writing of the previous couple albums, but just higher energy. But now we are on to two left. We're almost there. Fucking A. I'm gonna need some throat coat after this episode. This is 1981's Renegade.
I'm gonna pop a what are those little like throat lozenge thing
Lozenges
too?
For sure. 1981 Renegade. Ooh, we got that fucking build up.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
I'm interested, but I get let down.
Takes a second to start. Also, this song is called Angel of Death.
This song doesn't let me down. This is like one of the few songs I like on the album.
This is one of the more metal things I think they've ever done.
Yes.
Or like the first, like, okay. Also, for anybody watching the video, I now have 10% in my camera, so if my face goes out, you know what happened.
Yeah, this it's not up there with Black Rose or Emerald, but it's a pretty good galloping epic in their epic song category.
Yeah, it's pretty long too. It's like 6 minutes, something like that.
I seen the fire start in Frisco the day that the earthquake.
So, the heaviest they've been in a while. That's like the main takeaway I got from this. Pretty damn heavy.
So I don't have a lot of by process of elimination, I don't have a lot of places to go. This is their worst album.
Interesting.
I think it's real bloated. It's real boring.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that has to do with Phil was working on his second solo album, and he recruited Thin Lizzy to work on his, why is it a solo album? And they were recording both at the same time, and they didn't know what was going to end up on his solo album or what was going to end up on the Thin Lizzy album. So I think because the confusion, and this is kind of like a weird scenario to be put into, I don't think they were fully bought into either album. Because it's like, what's the vision here? If we're just in the studio recording songs, what are we going for?
Right.
How do we separate them?
It's certainly a nonsensical album because like the first few tracks make you think, oh, they're a full-on metal band now, and then you get to fucking Hollywood, which is garbage, generic 80s rock horseshit. I fucking hate it. And then like
that was like the only song that like tracked for them off here was Hollywood.
And then you get Mexican Blood, which is so cheesy. So damn cheesy.
Mexican Blood, they just put the word Mexican in front of things.
Yeah, they put the word Mexican in front of everything. It makes is it now Mexican now that you said it was a Mexican insert noun? Like, Jesus Christ.
And then, I like when he says he'll drink a little tequila, and then you got the stupid percussion. Fucking makes me laugh.
It's so cringy, dude. It's not the worst song I've ever done, but it is not great.
The only other song I liked, you talked about it a little bit, is Pressure Will Blow. I think the first two songs on here are real good. Everything else is real fucking boring to me. Yeah,
the first three tracks are definitely the best. I don't mind It's Getting Dangerous either as a closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the title track is the perfect example. It's just bloated. It goes on way too long.
It does. It's another 6 minute song. It's very long. The biggest takeaway I got from this, aside from it being really fucking weird and disjointed sounding, Phil sounds like he's 60. He has aged 30 fucking years since the last album. I have no idea what happened, but when he sings lower,
drugs,
and the booze, I'm gonna put on. It's more prominent on the quieter tracks, so I'm gonna put on a little bit of the title track because you can definitely hear it there. Listen to his voice on this. It's rough.
This song is one of the longest 6 minutes of my life.
I don't mind it, but it is definitely too long.
He's just a boy that is not
Just a boy.
He's a rebel that is
If you do a shot every time he sings boy, you will be drunk on any album.
blown away.
Still not as drunk as him. Look at his voice, dude. It's
With me, he's a renegade.
I mean, we're pretty much
yeah.
real, like, indulgent drug use, too.
Yeah, it's not great. This one, like, I didn't really hate it. I didn't think it was the worst, obviously, but definite drop off from the last one, which I thought was just good.
Yeah. That's
The second
not a
half
good
is so
song.
fucking weird. Yeah, go on.
Not a good song, but I do like the bass because it sounds like a like stand-up bass on there. And I do like when he says jazz razzmatazz. Hilarious.
I don't mind the title track. I think it's too long, but it's not bad for me. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention with the pressure will blow is, like, first it starts off as like one of the most metal things that they've done, and then at fucking 2 minutes in, they turn into Kraftwerk.
You got it pulled up. Let me
Yeah,
see
I do.
what part
This
you're
is
talking about.
2 minutes into the pressure will blow. Where 1 second. Here we go.
The pressure will blow tight.
I don't know why it reminds me of Mastodon.
Really? Right here. It sounds so much like Kraftwerk to me.
Yeah.
It's so poppy with those,
sampling that and turning it into
like right here. This is so Kraftwerk,
or if you played it on keyboard instead of guitar.
and it still sounds that way because now they have.
They do have a keyboard player.
And I gotta say that keyboard solo in Angel of Death is insane. It's completely insane. It's very cool.
The keyboard player, Darren Wharton, I think he was only like 18 or 19 too. So that's pretty
very young.
crazy.
Yeah.
And then I got a crazy story about this album that this happened. Getting my mail forwarded to Hillary's address because I'm just not sure where I'm going to be.
Hillary is a
And
friend of the
so I
show
went
and a
to go
friend of
pick up-
ours.
I went to go pick up my mail. I was listening to this album on the way. I'm like, I'd love to like talk, but you know, I gotta go, gotta work on Thin Lizzy.
Yeah.
And she's like, they covered one of my dad's songs. I didn't even know her dad was a fucking musician.
Hillary's dad's a musician?
Yes. So that was already shocking. And then I was like, what song? And she's like, Troubled Boys. And I looked it up and it was recorded for the greatest hits that came after this.
Uh-huh.
But it's on reissues of Renegade. It's called Troubled Boys, written by Billy Bremner. And I was like, holy shit, I was listening to Renegades on the way over here. What are the fucking odds? It's just like a crazy coincidence.
That's insane. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I didn't listen to it because I listened to the original release. I'm going back to that. That's That's wild, man.
And apparently, I don't know if it was Snowy White or Scott Gorham, but when they were covering it, one of them was having trouble getting the riff down. And her dad was just like, oh, yeah, you just like do this. And he couldn't like.
Really?
So all of it was like very like, wait, what? And then like your dad has one, he's a musician and he has his own Wikipedia page.
And he was covered by Thin Lizzy. Holy shit.
I never fucking knew.
Hillary, you're awesome. God damn it. But aside from that, Alex is worse. I don't think it's the worst, but it definitely has some strange aspects. But now we are on to the very last album. Big, beefy, fun episode. I wonder how Alex feels about this next one by Process of Elimination. This is 1983's Thunder and Lightning.
It's so exciting.
Oh, god damn. I'm going to try and connect my phone to the charger before it dies. We'll see how it works.
Into the alley, meet up with the boys, waiting for the weekend to make a little
God damn.
Dude, the
All right.
first time I heard this song, I was laughing. Like, it's kind of juvenile lyrics.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I just love, like, the God damn, like he's this, like, forcing it out.
Oh yeah, he's got the fury, dude.
It hits you like a hammer, like one of their fastest songs. Obvious. I think this may be a controversial opinion. Originally, I was just going to give this personal favorite, but after some soul searching, I'm like, it's clearly the best.
Interesting.
I mean, no disrespect to Robertson or that classic Thin Lizzy lineup, but I love almost every song on here. Every song does it for me.
Dude, the solos on this album are bananas.
Insane. Like the guitarist they have on here, John Sykes, I think is how his name is pronounced. Fucking this brings it out of Gorham. Very, very underrated album in my opinion. I remember, I forget where I heard it. I heard Cold Sweat. And I'm like, Cold Sweat, fucking amazing, hard-hitting song, crazy guitar solo. Let me see what else is popping off on this album. Thunder and Lightning. And I'm just like, how come no one talks about this album? Rarely.
I don't know, but I will say this album it's kind of a complete anomaly in the grand scheme of Thin Lizzy albums.
It really is
complete heavy metal from beginning to end. It's just a metal album. And like that title track, like the main riff is just 2 chords, which is pretty like, we've heard that before. But the presentation is just, it's great. The keyboard solo is ridiculous. Then the guitar solo comes in and it's equally ridiculous. And like, if you're into like the Thin Lizzy guitar harmonies that we've all, we've grown to love, there's not that here. It is now straightforward heavy metal back and forth shred fests.
It's more noisy. I've read things that call it Van Halen, probably influenced by Van Halen.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely that.
This shit shreds. I think saying "goddamn" in the title track is an appropriate vibe for the album. Even like The Sun Goes Down, probably the mellowest track on here. Like,
I'm not a fan for that one. Yeah.
I like the bass line on there, and to me, I think it's the right amount of like 80s cheese on there. I love it. I think The Holy War is a very underrated Thin Lizzy song.
The Holy War. I don't remember that. I'm going to throw that bitch on right now. This is The Holy War. Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is a good song.
Oh,
damn. It's so 80s metal, but it's fucking working. It's working for me.
I think part of it is the fact that Phil doesn't have like the cheesy like metal vocals.
No.
His Phil vocals.
And we'll say also about his vocals, he's as rough as he was on the last album, where his voice is gone. Like they're as rough as the last one, but like the songs on here are so loud and chaotic that they compensate for them. So you don't really, you don't notice it hardly at all, but it is very, he's not a Bruce Dickinson howler. So it's an interesting mix.
But yeah, I think like the Holy War could have easily been not easily, because they have that guitar sound and the dope bass. But if you take like a standard 80s metal band like your Rat or Skid Row and you throw those vocals on top of it, not a good song anymore. Yeah.
And that's actually one thing I'll point out about this album. It's like, if this was, it's like novel for Thin Lizzy. It's like, it's not like if this was a regular heavy metal album, like from a band that we know as a heavy metal band, it would probably just be okay. It'd probably just be decent. But because it's Thin Lizzy and it's completely unexpected and it's novel for Thin Lizzy, it's like, oh, this is just a crazy fucking Thin Lizzy album. Then it suddenly becomes really good.
It's a wild thing to follow up Renegade with. It's like they knew Renegade. They knew Renegade sucked.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to like come back with a fury. And unfortunately, you know, due to the album sales and, you know, personal problems.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they really wanted to break up, but it was just the drug use and the fatigue and not really, maybe if they were more popular, they could have pushed on more, but this was, you know, this album was followed with the farewell tour because they just kind of felt like they were stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
And it was just like, man, Gorham and Downey, and I mean, Phil needed to get his head straight too, but obviously he didn't. But the other two took, you know, the time to get better, and just a bummer. I feel like had Phil stayed alive, they most definitely would have got back together and
it seems like it.
Yeah, they would have gotten their due. But this was like, oh, I guess before I talk about his death, do you have anything else?
So one problem I did have with this, I think I like the second half more than the first half, because the first half was songs.
Interesting.
Yeah, because the first half, it's just heavy, edgy song one after the other, and the songs are longer, so it's like it gets pretty samey really quickly. The songs are still really fun and really, really, you know, kind of crazy, but it wasn't until the second half that like things start getting a little bit more interesting, a little bit more like, most of it doesn't sound like Thin Lizzy. Like they don't even line up with Lynott's writing style very much, but the only like Bad Habits, I think kind of is the closest thing to a Thin Lizzy song we get. I still like it, but and then the second thing is the solos, they're kind of out of hand. They're
really are
cranked to 11, dude. Like Some Days She's Gonna Hit Back, which I think is a great song.
Hell yeah.
The solos are nonstop. They're just nonstop solo throughout the whole song. And it's not just because, like, if you listen to the first couple albums, Eric Bell was very much a constant soloer. Like during vocal phrases, he'll be soloing in the background, kind of in the side. Here, it's full on Eddie Van Halen shredding during every like it's a lot. It's a lot.
There is nothing subtle about this album.
Nothing subtle about it. And it's like this whole album is too fucking crazy and fun to not be good. Like, even if you're not like in some
ways, it encapsulates the 80s perfectly. It is real self-indulgent.
It is.
It's cranked up to an 11.
What I feel like it combines the speed and energy of Chinatown with all the metal aspects that Renegade introduced. And it goes at it hard. It really leans into them pretty hard. And it's pretty damn good. I don't know. I think I'm going to go back to this one. I don't think it's their best, but I still think it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a hot take, but in my hearts, it's just like the only song I don't like on here is "Baby Please Don't Go." So I'm like, with that, I'm just gonna give it best.
I still kind of like that one too. Yeah,
they definitely have bigger hits.
Yeah.
But the metalhead in me, I just love this album so much.
It is a surprisingly consistent album as well. Whereas I can't think of any, like, aside from I don't care for Sun Goes Down too much. There's not real stinkers on here. Everything is pretty consistent.
I will say the Sun Goes Down is pretty long and samey, but it holds my attention for whatever reason.
Oh man, what a wild band and a wild discography. So what happened? How did he die? What happened following this album, aside from the farewell tour?
So they did the farewell tour, and then fast forward three years, Lynott died of complications brought on by the drug usage. She had internal abscesses. Did I say that right? Pneumonia.
Abscesses.
Yeah, complete multiple organ failure. Like he was too far gone.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, he had 2 kids, and it's just stereotypical rock and roll shit. And it's a shame they've toured with like bastardized versions of the band.
Really?
Like if you see them today, they have a weird. It sounds appealing. Like the most current version of the band it's pretty much just Scott Gorham.
Yeah.
But if they had like Scott Gorham and Downey, I might be interested. But I would still be interested because like some of the last shows they played, that's Scott Travis on drums from Judas Priest, who did the fucking he's most famous for doing the Painkiller drums.
Well, that'll do it.
And Troy Sanders on bass for Mastodon.
Oh, interesting.
I would see that. I wouldn't be like, oh, I saw Thin Lizzy. I wouldn't call it that.
No,
I'm like, that's an interesting lineup.
Wait, who's on vocals?
Some random Irish dude. I don't know who the fuck he is, but they should let Troy do some songs.
Dude, Troy singing Thin Lizzy songs would be weird. It'd be so gruff. I would be interested to hear that.
Yeah. Mastodon covered Emerald, if anyone wants to check that out. But does he? I don't even remember if he sings on that. I'm going to have to give it a listen. It's been a while.
That's crazy. And it's also not surprising that Phil went out the way he did. It's always perplexing to me how people really romanticize that whole rock and roll lifestyle. It's like, it kind of blows, dude. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, it's such a bummer because, like, I wouldn't call him a failure, but it like reminds you of how much the music scene has changed. I like to think a band that maybe wasn't doing well in America now, but was still successful in the UK wouldn't be as like beat down as much as they were, because like the UK never really like stopped caring about them. They were always pretty prevalent over there. Is this, not doing well in America for some reason was, a nail in the coffin for their careers.
That's interesting, because I think about, although Nick Cave is wildly successful, compared to his success in the UK, he is relatively not that big in the States. Like, he's still big. He's still huge, and he still sells out and stuff. But I mean, like, he's a household name in the UK. Everyone knows who Nick Cave is in the UK. Whereas if I ask a random person, in my neighborhood who Nick Cave is, they have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. You have to kind of be involved with music a little bit, at least.
That's true.
But yeah, it's a weird thing. I mean, because it's, as people who live in the US, it's kind of easy to forget how fucking gigantic it is, and how just how much more money there is here. If you're big here, you are making
big everywhere.
Tenfold. Yeah. What you'll make in the UK. It's a big difference, but clearly there's still a massive band, Thin Lizzy, I'm saying, and clearly still live on in our hearts to some degree. Even these later albums, which I don't think are that bad, and some of them are pretty fucking good.
Some of them not so much. There were going to be a lot more stinkers going into this.
Same.
And yeah, it's not, nothing cringeworthy.
I only hate one album. I thought I was going to hate a good 4 or 5, but holy shit. So let's recap. Alex, what do you got?
So, sorry, I'm like all over the place. My least favorite would be Fighting. Doesn't do a whole lot for me. Worst album, Renegade. Lots of snooze fests on there, but Angel of Death and Pressure Will Blow are worth seeking out. And then best personal favorite, the completely unhinged Thunder and Lightning.
Such wild picks.
Same for yeah. No, anyone who was like trying to predict our picks on this probably failed miserably.
Yeah, no overlap whatsoever. Thin Lizzy, self-titled 1971. That is my personal favorite. I think early Thin Lizzy is very interesting, completely different band, but I think this is the best showcase of that. I love it. Nightlife, 1974. Worst. That's the only album that I really truly hate. Just no, thank you. And Bad Reputation, 1977. That is what I believe the best album is. It is very much the Thin Lizzy sound, but just the most consistent. There's very few stingers on there. It's not, maybe it doesn't have the peaks that Black Rose or Jailbreak or Vagabonds has, but from beginning to end, I think it's solid. And solid band overall.
Like I said when we started this, one of the most underrated classic rock bands,
I think so,
in the business.
And if this video doesn't, or this episode does not make it big, then you're all contributing to the problem. Okay, Thin Lizzy's fucking wonderful. So yeah, now that we're done, please share this if you would like. Tell a friend. Subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. All the things. If you whatever. And kind of like how at the top of the episode, Casey sent some thoughts about Thin Lizzy. If you want to contribute, book club style, send your picks for best and worst, whatever. You can follow,
or just overall thoughts about the band in general.
Yeah, just any general thoughts. You can participate. Find out who we're currently listening to by following me on Instagram at Pope Joseph Ventura, as well as Alex
at Mother Puncture. And
if you have any thoughts or whatever, you can send all of them to everyalbumever@gmail.com, as well as your suggestions for artists for us to cover in the future. After this episode, or maybe not. Either way, there is a Spotify playlist full of about 712 Thin Lizzy songs. You can find a link in the description of wherever you're listening or watching, as well as everyalbumever.com. There's a playlist associated with every single episode. So with having done all the plugs and all that stuff, Alex, I feel you are in charge of this last song. What am I plugging in post? What are we going to listen to?
First of all, thank you. So I had about 5 or 6 songs written down when we started, but I think going through it and talking, I've whittled it down, and I got to do Black Rose.
I had a feeling. It's the best.
It was not an easy choice to make. Like I said, I didn't know when we started this, but I just think through our just talking about it, we got to go that song.
I agree. Wonderful choice. So thank you for listening and watching, everybody. See ya.